Hey, what's going on, everyone? Greg here, and I wanted to talk to you about something deeply personal. Why I bought the M2 MacBook Air. Okay, it's really not that serious, but I did want to talk about why I bought the M2 MacBook Air and how it could actually end up replacing my 14-inch M1 MacBook Pro. Now, sorry if I sound a little hoarse today. I'm still recovering a bit from a sore throat from earlier this week, but I wanted to sacrifice my health to bring you this video on why I bought a product. I know, a great use of my health. Definitely the smart move there. But this really is a product that I've been talking about a lot on the channel, so I thought it would only be fair to make you this video. And for some reason, whenever I order a new product, you guys like to know my reasoning about why I ordered this product and why or how I plan to use it in my current workflow. And since we've been talking about the M2 MacBook Air for well over a year on my channel with all of these rumors, finally being able to order one is a nice feeling. And I have been waiting for Apple to get back into a super sleek, thin, modern design laptop ever since they discontinued the 12-inch MacBook. Apple has not had a modern replacement for a modern version of an ultra-portable laptop for quite some time. And even products like the Retina MacBook Air was just kind of like a slight iteration of the 2016 era 13-inch MacBook Pro designs. And while you may say the same about this new MacBook Air, which kind of looks like just another version of the modern 14-inch MacBook Pro, there are some distinctions here that separate it more from the powerful Pro computer. For example, it's not as big as the 14-inch MacBook Pro. It comes packed down with a 13.6-inch display instead of a 14.2-inch display. It weighs significantly lighter at 2.7 pounds versus 3.5 pounds on the Pro model, and it's also slimmed down quite a bit now, measuring in at just 11.3 millimeters thin. In fact, if you measured for overall uniform thickness, this is the thinnest laptop that Apple has ever released. And that really does compel me as someone who is traditionally a Mac guy and has been really frustrated recently with the lack of software advancements made on the iPad. I find that what I really want is a super portable Mac laptop, which I hope this is what the M2 MacBook Air turns out to be. Now, yes, my current laptop that I'm using is a 14-inch MacBook Pro, which, quite frankly, has been the best laptop that I have ever used. It is just a combination of raw horsepower, efficiency, form factor, and hardware that, as absurd as it sounds, makes it well worth the $2,000 asking price for this machine. It has been the Mac that I have used the most in this M1 generation, and I even use it more over my more powerful M1 Ultra Mac Studio. Well, if I love my 14-inch MacBook Pro so much, you're probably wondering, Greg, why on earth would you order what is essentially a lower-end version of the 14-inch MacBook Pro? Well, for me, that is where it all comes down to form factor. Again, I am basically looking for a device to replace that ultra-portable 12-inch MacBook. And while the 14-inch MacBook Pro can fill a dual role as being a portable powerhouse, I still ideally want something that is even smaller and lighter and more portable than what that can offer. The M2 MacBook Air looks to fit that bill. It's potentially a good middle ground between that older 12-inch MacBook and the last generation MacBook Air. As someone who plans to do a lot more traveling this upcoming year, and as someone who always likes to have a MacBook on him in case I need to write out a script, answer some emails, or maybe even edit a video, well, the portability benefits of a lighter laptop are always something that I really appreciate. I just want to throw this in my bag, and I don't even want to feel like I'm carrying around something. Like, that's how portable I want it to be. And if you can give me the most power in the thinnest and lightest form factor that you have, I'm probably going to give it a chance. It's also because, and this is going to sound absurdly privileged as a tech YouTuber, I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's the truth. It's also because I do have a more powerful computer that could take over the role of my MacBook Pro. Right now, I am switching between my 14-inch MacBook Pro and my Mac Studio, and I have two very powerful computers, and it is a bit redundant to have two machines that are both really powerful and really capable, especially when I'm using the 14-inch MacBook Pro a lot now to do more kind of daily tasks, things that don't need a lot of power, things like browsing websites, answering email, and not necessarily editing video 24/7. Even with that being said, there are some times where I do need to work on a project when I am away from my desktop Mac, and there are times where I still need the portability of a laptop. Thankfully, the M2 chip looks to be pretty powerful, and it allows me to configure it up to higher end specs that the previous M1 generation just simply could not match. Specifically, I am talking about that new 24 gigabytes of memory option. This basically gives me the lightest MacBook option with still plenty of power. Now, are there going to be regressions in buying this laptop and picking it over my 14-inch MacBook Pro? Yes, quite a few actually. So much so, in fact, that when I actually get my hands on this M2 MacBook Air, I may actually end up sticking with the 14-inch MacBook Pro if the loss of these features really bother me. I think the biggest obstacle to overcome will be the loss of the mini LED 120Hz ProMotion display. That display on the 14-inch MacBook Pro is just stunning. Videos look amazing on it. Black levels are near OLED display panel levels, and that 120Hz makes editing video in Final Cut Pro or just using other applications very, very smooth. There's also some unknowns, like I don't know how well the speakers will sound in the M2 Air. Apple says it has a new 4-speaker system, so I'm hopeful it will sound very good, but in that thin of a body, even without using this device or listening to it, I think it's likely that the 14-inch MacBook Pro will continue to have the better speaker system. Also, while the M2 chip is faster in single-core performance, which will be great for daily tasks, I will be giving up a fair bit of multi-core performance if I do make the jump over to the M2 MacBook Air, which would be a bit of a bummer if I plan to use it as my only laptop. And giving up all the port options on the 14-inch model could end up being pretty frustrating. I've gotten so used to having an SD card slot now that alone could end up being a deal breaker when I start to use this laptop as my daily driver. Still, there's a lot of nice upgrades on the Air: a brighter display, new speakers like I mentioned before, a 1080p webcam, the addition of MagSafe, and longer battery life than the 14-inch model that I currently use. All of this in an ultra-thin design and with no noisy fan. Either way, I plan to try it out and see if I can make it work, so let's go over to the order configurator and see which M2 MacBook Air I'm going to order and how I'm going to spec it out. Now for me, I like a decent amount of onboard storage, but I don't need to go too overkill, so I think the 1TB option is a good middle ground for me. Like I mentioned before, I was really interested in the new 24GB memory option, so I'm going to pick that as well in case I need to do more intensive tasks like video editing. I want a comfortable amount of memory there so I don't have any spinning beach balls or any large amounts of memory swap. For the M2 chip itself, it started off with the second base model as the starting point, so it comes with the full 10-core GPU. And for the charger, well, I gotta see what the new dual USB-C charger is like from Apple, so obviously I'm gonna pick that. I don't think I really need the fast charger. As for color, well, I'm a sucker for new color, so I gotta try the new midnight color option, and that is my M2 MacBook Air configuration with the full M2 chip, 1TB of storage, 24GB of memory, and the dual USB-C charging brick. Oh, and this isn't shipping until August. Well, I can't wait that long, so I ordered the highest end base model with 512GB of storage, which will arrive on July 15th. If that does the job well enough, maybe I'll end up canceling this higher tier version, but if this base model doesn't do the job, well, I will have that order ready in August. So I won't cancel it now. It's still on the way, but we'll see. We'll give this 512GB version a fair shot. Now, before I end this video, I should acknowledge that this M2 MacBook Air still might not end up being the computer that I was ultimately looking for. I talked a lot about the portability of the 12-inch MacBook, and I think if you've ever owned that MacBook, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say just how light and portable that device was. It truly felt like a MacBook in an iPad form factor. And while this new M2 Air looks great, I have to acknowledge its weakness. It may not end up being the direct replacement for that laptop, considering it is still much bigger than that laptop and weighs 0.7 pounds more than that 12-inch MacBook that was released all the way back in 2015. It is crazy how forward-looking and how futuristic that 12-inch MacBook was, even compared against a modern 2022 laptop just released from Apple. However, I am hopeful that the ultra-thin body will more than make up for that, and hopefully it will be super easy to pack in my bag or carry over to the couch and just take with me anywhere. But yeah, that is why I ordered the M2 MacBook Air and how I hope it will end up replacing my 14-inch MacBook Pro. Hopefully you found this video helpful if you were planning on buying an M2 Air, or if you just wanted to hear my thoughts on it. If you are interested in buying an M2 Air, consider using my affiliate link in the description below. Also, make sure you get subscribed for my M2 MacBook Air impressions next week. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for putting up with my voice for this video. I really appreciate it if you made it this far. Let me know in the comments below if it was bothersome or if it was fine. If I could do a video with my voice cracking like this, so maybe it adds some character to me. Who knows? But I really appreciate you sticking through. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, everyone.